Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? If you can hear me, just answer me so that we can start.
Sir,
Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so I've got a message in the chat box saying you can hear me. So we are starting. What I intend to do is I'm going to start the revision of each of the chapters individually. Uh, up till four chapters. The first four chapters I'm going to have one session each. Uh, for each unit so that we can revise about that. Also, the fifth unit I'm going to take about 2 to 3 different sessions with single individual topics because those are the part of your unit test. And these first four we have already covered it once, we have revised it once before unit test. Fifth we have not yet revised it, so fifth unit I'll be taking it again. Today we are going to do first unit. So after first unit, I'll try to have another session tomorrow for second unit or one a part of the fifth unit. I'll inform you accordingly on WhatsApp. Right now we'll start with first unit. I hope you have your pens, papers, and uh, calculators with you. Please keep them together so that we will be able to solve some problems. Right. So the first unit we had completed long back. It looks like long time back now, uh, but it was about, just a minute, let me start the slideshow. Keep the chat box open. I'll be requiring you to answer in the chat box. If you can hear me, if you can see this slideshow, just give me a yes in chat box, please. Can you see the slideshow? All right. So this is the first unit that we are going to cover. The first unit that we studied was about, we started with something called as errors. What are errors? So when using any numerical methods or algorithms or computing with finite precision, errors of approximation or rounding or truncation are introduced. That is what we said. In numerical method, the subject that we are studying, we are trying to find the answers by different methods rather than your analytical methods. We are trying to guess the answers using scientific method. That is nothing but your numerical methods. So whenever you guess the method, there's always a chance for certain errors. There is always a chance for deviation from the actual value. So that is nothing but error. Now these errors while calculating could be of different types. This could be errors of approximation. This could be errors of rounding whenever you round the numbers. Okay, so that could introduce errors whenever you multiply these rounded numbers by some other number. The error will be multiplied by that much amount. Also, there is something called as truncation error. So, what are truncation errors? So, if you have a number, let's say you have 6 digits after decimal, but for your calculation, you just want 3 digits after decimal. So, you're just truncating it. You're leaving out the last 3 digits after decimal. So, that too will bring out certain errors in it. Those errors are called as errors of truncation. A newly developed method is worthless without its error analysis. So whenever we develop a method in numerical analysis, we have to understand what are the errors also. So because we are guessing, we have to understand or we have to estimate the errors that are possible also. All right. So that is about errors. There are different types of errors that are available, that come in the that come in your analysis, and we're going to study this. The first one is called as absolute error. Now, absolute error is one of the simplest errors. Absolute error is the magnitude difference between the true value x and the approximate value xa. So, if for using any methods we have found out the approximate value xa and the true value is x, then just the difference between them is nothing but absolute error. So, absolute error between two values can be defined by its error is defined by epsilon, or symbol that is used is epsilon. So epsilon abs is nothing but, we are talking about magnitude. So therefore, we have absolute value here, or you have x minus a, and we are just taking the magnitude of it. We are not interested in the sign. All right. So therefore, we have this absolute signs outside it, where x is the true value and xa is the approximate value. This is the simplest error called as absolute error. We cannot always, if we the problem is we may not always know the true value, so therefore finding out the absolute error is very difficult sometimes. So we rely upon something called as approximate error. We try to understand how, just try to gain how much approximately we are away or from the true value, or how much error, approximate error is there in the numerical. So what we do is, whenever you use iterative methods, we use this approximate value. Now approximate value ea is defined as the difference between the present approximation value and the previous approximation. All right, so in simple words, approximation error is your present value minus your previous approximation and the modulus of that, the absolute value of that. We're not interested again in the sign, but we are just interested in the magnitude of it. All right, so now there are different types of they're just talking about relative errors further. We can calculate the relative approximate error by dividing. So we talked about approximate error, now we're talking about relative approximate error. So relative approximate error can be found out by dividing approximate error by the present approximate value. So ea, that's now small ea, that is relative approximate error, is nothing but approximate error upon present approximation. Now relative error is usually expressed in percentage. We just multiply this value by 100. So this is the formula. This is very important for us. EA is nothing but modulus of approximate error upon present approximation into 100. So this will give you a error that is in percentages. So this is the approximate, relative approximate error. We are going to calculate this error at the end of every iteration. So now we'll start with the knowledge of errors. We can start with the actual content of your first unit. The first unit is about roots of equation. So what are roots of equation? You in your school you have studied this quadratic formula: x is equal to minus b plus minus under root of b square minus 4ac for 2a. So this is the formula that you use to find the roots of a quadratic equation. Quadratic equations are the equations with the highest value as square. So ax square plus bx plus c. If you have a equation in these terms, then the root of that equation is given by x is equal to minus b plus minus under root of b square minus 4ac upon 2a. So you have used this formula. So basically you use this formula, like I said, to solve ax square plus bx plus c. Now the value of for x are called as roots of the equation f of x. We can define the root as the value of x that makes the function equal to 0. So at what point, let's say you have x. So uh, if I want to equate this entire equation to 0, what is the value that I get for x for this entire equation to be 0? That is called as your root of equation. Alright, so that is nothing but the root of equation. If you show graphically, the curve, whenever it cuts the x-axis at certain point, that is called as your root of equation. Okay, so wherever it cuts the x-axis at that point, y becomes 0. So here in this case it is something greater than 12. Here it cuts the y-axis, it cuts the x-axis, that is nothing but your root of equation. All right, so Like I said, this is your root of equation. So to find the roots of equation, uh, you have the quadratic formula b square minus x is equal to b minus plus minus under root of b square minus 4ac upon 2a. But what if your equations are not always quadratic? There could be different equations with different powers. There could be different mathematical operations, sine, cos, log, etc. And therefore, you will be required to use different methods to solve them. It will not always be analytical method. It may be very difficult to solve it by graphical or analytical method each time. So we are going to study some methods by which we are going to approximate the answers. And to use this approximation, these methods are called as the numerical methods. The first method that we are going to study in approximation methods is called as a bisection method. Now there are two different types of methods that we are going to study. One is called as bracketing methods and one is called as non-bracketing methods or open methods. So bracketing methods and open methods. In bracketing methods, you have two different methods. The first one is bisection method and second one is false position method. In non-bracketing or open methods, you have one method that we're going to study that is called as Newton-Raphson method. What is the difference between the two of them? It is that in bracketing methods, you require two different values to start. Okay, so you require a bracket in which you require a bracket in which sorry, just a minute. Yeah, right. So you require a bracket in which your root must lie for this method. So once you have that, we can start. So bisection method is a bracketing method. Now the bisection method in mathematics is a root finding method that repetitively bisects the interval and then selects a subinterval in which the root must lie. So that is what we are doing. We are going to keep on bisecting the interval that we have. Like I said, it's a bracketing method. So it has a certain bracket, an interval, and we are just going to keep on bisecting it. Okay, we are going to bisect it means we are going to keep on halving it until we reach a particular answer. This is the simplest explanation of bracketing methods. Now, what do we actually do here? It's a very simple method, robust method. It is going to give you answers, but it could be very slow. Uh, because of this, it's often used to obtain a rough approximation to the solution, when which is then used as a starting point for more rapidly converging methods. So basically, we use this method to get a rough approximation, and then we use better methods to get a really accurate answer. Now, the first approximation to this root can be calculated by this formula. This is a very simple formula that we have. X0 is equal to a plus b upon 2. So whenever if we have a bracket a plus b, a and b, and one root lies between them, then we start approximating it. The first approximation is given by x0 is equal to a plus b by 2. This is the simplest formula that we use for bisection method. Now, what is the method? In this method, the input for this method is a continuous function. There are some assumptions that we make that the function is continuous, and and an interval between a and b, the functional values are f of a and f of b. These functional values should be of opposite signs. So basically, what we are doing is we are taking two values such that they should have opposite signs. So if you actually try to draw a graph of it, so let's say we have this is x, this is y, so this is your root of equation. So this point is your a, and this point, let's say, is b. So these are your two different values here. So you have this is your a and this is your b. All right, that is how we start this function. This point over the functional values at this point, this is f of a and this is f of b. So if you can see that whenever it crosses the root, it will have opposite signs. F of A will be positive and F of B will be negative. Alright, so that is what we are trying to have. Whenever we are looking at the brackets, your brackets should have opposite signs. Alright, so that is the meaning of this method. It should always have opposite signs. Now each after that you start performing. Once you have decided on the brackets, you start performing each iteration. In each iteration, you start by calculating x0, that is the midpoint of the interval. So like I said, it is given by x0 is given by x0 is equal to a plus b by 2. So this is whole bracket by 2. It will not just b by 2, it is whole bracket by 2. A plus b by 2. After that, once we calculate these value, what we do is we calculate the functional value at the midpoint. So we calculate f of x0. Now if f of x0 is equal to 0, so that means it is the root. If it is not, we further keep on doing it and stop. Now we start examining the value of f of x0, and then we replace either the point A or point B with your x0, so that the crossing so that the zero crossing, there will be a zero crossing within the new interval, or that is the root should lie between the new interval. How do we do that? We can see using the method, or we can see this using the numerical. So what I want you to do is take out your calculators, take out your pens and paper. We're going to do this numerical together, and whatever answers you're going to get, you're going to keep on posting it in the chat box. So the chat box is open and you have to keep on posting the answers. Alright, so write down this numerical. Find the root of equation f of x is equal to 8x cubed minus 2x minus 1 is equal to 0 by bisection method until the relative error is less than 3%. That is the question. Find the root of equation f of x is equal to 8x cubed minus 2x minus 1 is equal to 0 until the error, or until the relative error is less than 3%. So that is the question. We are going to do this by bisection method. The first thing that we need to do is we have to start by finding a initial bracket. So let us find the initial bracket first. So what we do is, let's say that we can always start with 0 and 1. So let's say that a is equal to 0 and b is equal to 1. According to our rule, we have to the bracket should be, the functional value of the bracket should have opposite sign, that is f of a and f of b should have opposite signs. So that is what we will try to look. So f of 0, when I put in 0 in the equation, I get it as minus 1, and if I put 1 in the equation, I get it as 5. So they are of opposite signs. One is negative and one is positive, so therefore there is at least one root lying between these two equations, and therefore this is a good enough bracket. So we can start with this bracket, it should not have any problem. So now we can say that there is at least one root between 0 and 1, so this is a good enough bracket. So we start with iteration 1. So in iteration 1, we use the formula x1 is equal to a plus b by 2, which is equal to 0 plus 1 upon 2. So this first approximation for the root is 0.5. So x1 is 0.5. Next step, we find the value of function, and we find the value of function when we put x is equal to x1. So we find f of x1, which is 8 into 0.5 cube minus 2 into 0.5 minus 1, which will give you the value of minus 1. So this is negative, it is still negative. So what we do is, in our previous attempt, when a was 0 and b was 1, where if I found f of 0, it gave me negative value. So this zero point 0.5, you are going to replace it with the value that was giving us functional negative value. So our new brackets here in this case are going to be 0 0.5 and 1. Now understand this, I'm not putting this minus 1 here, I'm putting x value here. Alright, there's a difference between f of x and x. So this is x1 0 0.5, which I am going to replace here. So 0 was also giving you a negative values, therefore I am replacing it by 0.5. This is the simple step that we use. Whatever, if the functional value is negative, we replace the previous value which was giving us negative value. Alright, so the new brackets are 0.5 and 1. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to solve the iteration 2 and you're going to tell the answer in chat box. Alright, come on everyone, go to iteration 2. Iteration 2, start with iteration 2 and you're going to tell me the answer. I'm waiting for the answer in the chat box. Use your pens, calculators. You're going to solve this problem with me. Is x2 will be equal to a plus b by 2. Someone is saying 0.5, 0.75. Okay, so now if I start, x2 will be equal to a plus b by 2, which is equal to 0.5 plus 1 upon 2, that is 0.75. So x2 is 0.75. There are few people who are giving me the answer 0.875. 875 is the functional value, that is not the value of x. Alright, understand the difference. We are looking for values of x. We are just using functional values of x as a point or as a reference whether our roots are correct or not. Right, so if I look at this value, if I look at the functional value at 0.75, I get 0.875, which is positive. So in our bracket, which is zero point 0.5 and 1, which value was giving us positive? The value at 1 was the value of functional value at 1 was positive. That is f of 1 was positive, so therefore I'm going to replace 1 by 0.75. So my new brackets are going to be 0.5 and 0.75. This is going to be my new bracket. Now in iteration 2 onwards, we can start finding the iteration 2 onwards, we can start finding the relative approximate error. Alright, so the relative approximate error is calculated as EA is equal to absolute error upon present approximation into 100. So that is present approximation minus previous approximation upon present approximation into 100 modulus of that. So if I find the answer, it is EA is equal to 0.75, that is the current approximation, minus the previous approximation was zero point 0.5, and that divided by 0.75 into 100, so that gives you 33.33%. All right, that is the answer. Now what I want you to do is go for iteration 3. All right, so go for iteration 3. Tell me the values at iteration 3. Yes everyone, go for iteration 3. So iteration 3, the bracket at the end of iteration 2 was 0.5 and 0.75. So now go for iteration 3 and find the value of the same find the value of x3, that is the new approximation. Yes, I'm getting a lot of answers. So as usual, the formula is a plus b upon 2. So that is 0.5 plus 0.75 upon 2, and that is equal to 0.625. So a lot of people have given the correct answers, except someone Mahendra has given 0.688. So that is wrong. Okay, when I asked the value for x, you have to give me the value for x. Some people have given the new bracket. All right, so a lot of people have got 0.625. Okay, now I'll calculate the functional value at that point. So I'll calculate f of x3. which is equal to 8 into 0.625 cube minus 2 into 0.625 minus 1. So that will give you minus 0.297, which is negative. So we have a negative value, we'll replace the negative value. So here it is not equal to 0 and is negative, so we are replacing a by x3 because a was giving you negative value. So the new brackets are now 0.625 and 0.75. Now can you calculate the absolute error? So sorry, the relative approximate error, you cannot calculate the absolute error because you do not know the true value. So you can find out the relative approximate error using the formula A is equal to modulus of present approximation minus previous approximation upon present approximation into 100. That will give you 0.625 minus 0.75 upon modulus of 0.625 into 100. So that is equal to 20%. So the absolute error here in this case is 20%. Alright. Now what I want you to do is go for iteration 4 and tell me the answer. Everyone, iteration 4. Iteration 4. Yes, iteration 4. Remember, we are always using 4 digits after decimal. Always use 4 digits after decimal. In numerical method entirely, in this entire subject, we are going to use 4 digits after decimal. Alright. What is x4? What is the value of x4? So this 0.6875. 6875, that is correct. What is the functional value at this point? What is the functional value f of x4? What is the functional value? That is 0.2246. So this is positive. This is positive, and therefore, what are my new brackets? What are my new brackets? What is the new brackets? What are the new brackets? New brackets are going to be 0.625, and you're going to replace the other value, so that is 0.6875. These are the new brackets. After that, you can calculate the relative approximate error. Relative approximate error. So the relative approximate error EA will be equal to modulus of, that is 0.6875 minus 0. Your previous approximation was 0.625, and the whole thing divided by the present approximation, which is 0.6875, and this thing you're multiplying it by 100. That gives you 9.09%. So 9.09 equal to 9.09%. So that means you have to do this further. You have to solve this problem until your error is less than 3%. So you'll have to go for a few more iterations. All right. So that you can complete it at home. We'll proceed further now. We'll move towards second method because we have to complete three different methods now. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll move forward. We're going to look at now second method. So that was bisection method. Now the problem with bisection method is that it is relatively very slow. That is what we discussed. Bisection methods are relatively very slow to reach the answer. So now, therefore, we are using a second method that is called as false position method. Now, false position method, also called as regular falsy method or false position method, regular falsy, there are different names for it. Uh, it is a method that is improved method on bisection method. So, bisection method is improved, and we use this method called as false position method. So what we do basically here in this method is that it's a trial and error method. Okay, so basically we are trying it with a lot of false values for the variable and then adjust the true values according to the outcome. So therefore it is called as regular falsy or false method. It is also called as guess and check method because we are making a lot of guesses here. Now what is this method? If you look at a table, let's say that we have, so let us say that we have this curve here and the root is somewhere here. So what we are doing is we are just drawing these points, that is we are going to draw the functional value at a, this will be equal to fx. We are going to draw the functional value at b, that is equal to f of b, and now we are going to draw a line connecting these functional values. All right, so when I draw a line using these functional values, wherever it meets the x-axis, that is now my root. If we had taken bisection method, we would have gotten a root somewhere here. All right, so it is an improvement. It is a little bit faster. It goes on approaching the root a little bit faster. So that is the false position method. Now, if you look at these, you have triangle A, f of A, x. Then you have triangle B, f of B, and x. Now, these angles are vertically opposite, and therefore they will be equal to each other. So this angle is 90. This angle is 90. So these two triangles are. So we can say that these two triangles are uh, similar triangles, and based on this we can find the value for x. So there is a doubt coming in. Yash is asking, what if the graph is above x-axis only? uh, if the graph is only above x-axis, that means the function doesn't have a root. It has to cross x-axis. At the point where it crosses x-axis, that is your root, right? So if you cannot have a graph that is only above x-axis, in that case it will not have a root. The function will not have a root. Okay, so now with these two similar triangles, I can solve them to find the value for x. Okay, so if I consider these two triangles, uh, I can get this value here is 0 at this point 0. If I find the value of this side, so that is f of a minus 0 upon this side, which is x minus a. Okay, that will be equal to, again, length of this value, that is f of b minus 0 upon b minus length of this side, that is b minus x. So for if I solve this equation to for x, the value that I get is x is equal to b into f of a, x is equal to b into f of a minus a into f of b upon f of a minus f of b. So this is the formula for false position method. Okay, it's a simple formula that we have derived. It is f of x is equal to b into f of a minus a into f of b upon f of a minus f of b. Like I said, this is a little faster method. It will give you the answers a little faster than bisection method. Alright. So now we'll do the same problem again, but this time we'll be using false position method. So the question again is the same. Find the root of the equation f of x is equal to 8x cubed minus 2x minus 1 is equal to 0 by false position method until the relative error is less than 3%. That is the question. So now we are going to use false position method to solve this. So what we do in false position method, as always, we start by finding the initial brackets. The initial brackets, like I said, should have opposite functional values. So if we find the functional values at initial bracket, they should have opposite sign. So that is the rule. So let a is equal to 0 and b is equal to 1. Okay, so we'll use these values. If I find f of 0, which is 0 minus 1, that is equal to 1 minus 1, so that is negative. And if I find f of 1, which is 8 minus 2 minus 1, gives you 5, which is positive. So a and b have opposite functional values, so therefore these are our brackets. Abhishek is asking me which method is accurate, more accurate, false position or bisection method. Uh, both of the methods give you the same approximate accuracy. The accuracy of both the methods is almost the same. It's just that false position approaches the root a little faster. Okay, it approaches the root little faster than bisection method. So now we can use these brackets 0 and 1 and we can start solving the problem. So now there is at least one root between 0 and 1 because one is negative and one is positive. So we'll start with iteration 1. So iteration 1, to find the value of x1, I'll say x1 is equal to b into f of a minus a into f of b upon f of a minus f of b. So that will be give you the value of 1 by 6. So 1 by 6 is your first approximation. If I put this 1 by 6, that is 0.1667 in the function, I get a negative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the negative value in the new bracket. So 0 was giving you a negative value, so I'm going to replace 0 by 0.1667. All right. So the new bracket is now 1 by 6 and 1. Clear? Now what I want you to do is solve the iteration 2 and tell me the value of x2. Solve iteration 2, go for iteration 2 and tell me the value of x2. Come on. Can you find the value of x2? Okay, I'm getting a few values. The value is 0.3382. All right. So if I use the formula, that is b into f of a minus a into f of b upon f of a minus f of b. So that will give you 0.3382. This is the new value of your approximation of x. If I find the functional value at that point, it gives me minus 1.3669. So that is a negative value. So if I find the functional value at that point, it is negative. So in that case, I'm going to replace a, and what will be my new brackets? My new brackets will be now 0.3382 and 1. These are my new brackets. Now iteration 2 onwards, we can start finding always the approximate relative error. So the approximate relative percentage error is given by this formula: present approximation minus previous approximation modulus of that upon present approximation into 100. Can you tell me the relative error? Can you calculate the relative percentage error? Yes, come on, calculate the relative percentage error. Modulus of present approximation minus modulus of, minus previous approximation upon present approximation into 100. Yes, I've got two answers, a few more. Come on, everyone, please solve this. Find the approximation error. Alright, so a lot of answers are 50.71. So that is the relative percentage approximation error. So 50.71%. Okay. Similarly, you can start with iteration 3. Can you start with iteration 3? Can you tell me the value of x3? Can you tell me the value of x3? I'll give you a minute. Calculate the value. Calculate the value of x3 and tell me the answer. I'm giving you a minute. Come on, you can solve this quickly. Yes, come on, calculate the value of x3. I've got two answers. I require a few more answers. All right. Okay, so the value of x3 is 0.4803. So b into f of a minus a into f of b upon f of a minus f of b. If I put these values, the value that I'm going to get is 0.4803. If I find the functional value at this point, it is minus 1.0742, which is negative. Okay, it's giving me a negative value, minus 1.0742. So I'm going to replace the x that was giving me negative value. So the new brackets that I have is 0.4803 and 1. Okay, so this is my new value. Can you find the error here? The relative percentage approximation error. Can you find the error? Can you find the error? Come on. The error is point it's around 29.84%. So that is approximate error, which is 0.4803 minus 0.3382 upon 0.4803 into 100. So that is 29.58%. So you have to keep on doing it until the error is less than 3%. So maybe you'll require about 6 to 7 iterations to get the error less than 3%. Alright, so you keep on solving this problem and then you will get the exact answer. Alright, so now I'll move forward. I want to cover the third method, which is Newton-Raphson method. So what is Newton-Raphson method? So Newton-Raphson method is the method that we are going to use to find the root of equation, but it's a non-bracketing method. It's an open method. So basically, it does not require a bracket to start. All right. So it just requires one single value, and then we can get the answer. So that is Newton-Raphson method. So Newton-Raphson method is a more powerful technique to solve these equations. numerically, and it uses the idea of differential calculus or for the linear approximation. So we require a little bit of calculus to find this answer. So now Newton method is used. Uh, it gives you answers at a very high efficiency, at a very high rate, or a very high efficiency, and therefore this method is used a lot of times. Now, this method is therefore used a lot of times. Now, what is this? So basically, if you look at this graph, so let us say that this dark line here, this represents the equation. This represents the equation uh, that we are trying to find the root of. That crosses this x-axis at this particular point. So this root is here. Okay. So if you had used bracketing methods, you would have taken one value here, one value here, and kept on doing it. But here in Newton-Raphson method, what we're going to do is we're going to take a starting point. Let's say that this is particular point, starting point xn. What we do is we find the functional value at that point, and at that particular point we draw a tangent to that line. So that tangent, wherever it meets the x-axis, that is your new value for or approximation of your root. So at this tangent, the slope of that tangent is given by f dash of xn. Okay, so if we use this method, all right. So if we calculate this value of y here, so that will be equal to f dash of xn, that is the slope, into xn minus x minus xn in plus function of xn. So that is nothing but your slope intercept form of a line. All right. So now we know that y is always equal to 0. All right. So if you see here, this values at x and these values are xn. They are nothing but they are on x-axis, and therefore the value of y at this particular point is 0. This function that we get whenever we solve this problem, the formula that we get is xn plus 1 is equal to xn minus function of xn upon f dash of xn. So that is new value of xn is equal to new value of x is nothing but x minus f of x upon f dash of x. So this is the formula for Newton-Raphson method. Now it's a very simple formula, and we'll start this. We'll do this problem together. We'll do this problem together to find the answer. All right. So write down this numerical. Find the root of equation f of x is equal to x square minus 4x minus 7 is equal to 0 by Newton-Raphson method. Correct up to 4 decimals and taking initial value of 5. Like I said, we do not require brackets here. We are going to start by an initial value. So the initial value that we are looking here is 5. So with this, we are going to solve it. How do we solve it? We are given x0 as 5. The first thing that we need to do is we have to find the differentiation of the function. The function fx is given as x square minus 4x minus 7, which is equal to 0. And therefore, I find the first differentiation of the function, that is f dash of x. So f dash of x is 2x minus 4. So we require this in the formula. So therefore, we always find the differentiation. So now we start with iteration 1. Once we have the function and the differentiation, we can start with iteration 1. So iteration 1, x1, according to formula, is x1 is equal to x0 minus f of x0 upon f dash of x0. So x0 initial value that told us, that is 5. So I'm going to use that. So 5 minus, this will become 5 square. F of x0 will become 5 square minus 4 into 5 minus 7 upon the functional value, the first derivative, that is 2 into 5 minus 4. So that will give you the value of 5.33. All right. Here also, this is like I said, it's a very fast method. It is giving you the value of 5.33. So that is your first iteration. Iteration 2, can you tell me the answer? Same formula. Can you solve for iteration 2? X2 will be equal to x1 minus f of x1 upon f dash of x1. Can you calculate? Got one answer so far. Can you calculate quickly? All right. So I've got a few answers. So this is the what the answer looks like. So x1, x2 will be equal to x1 minus f of x1 upon f dash of x1. X1 is 5.33. If I put this in the function, if I put this in the formulas, I'm going to get 5.3167. Like I said, always take 4 digits after decimal. If few of you are giving me 3 digits or 2 digits, always take 4 digits after decimal. So 5.3167. So that is the answer. Alright. So now once you have the second value, you can always start with second iteration onwards. You can always start finding the relative percentage approximation error. That is given by the formula, present approximation minus previous approximation upon present approximation into 100. Can you tell me what is the answer or what is the error? What is the relative approximate error? Can you tell me what is the relative approximate error? Yes, come on, calculate the relative approximate error. Present approximation is 0.53167 minus previous approximation is 5.3333 upon present approximation is 5.3167 into 100. So that is going to give you a very small value, that is 0.31%. Okay, so you can see how fast it is. The error in bisection methods and relative and false position method started with 50%, then slowly moved to 30%, 20%, and so on. This method, depending on your initial value, gives you really quick answers. So you can see in second iteration itself, it is less than 3%. So in numerical methods, in Newton-Raphson method, the stopping criteria will be something like 0.1% until the error is less than 0.1% or something like that, right? So that is the thing about Newton-Raphson method. Now, can you solve iteration 3? Can you find the value of x3? Find the value of x3. Find the value of x3. Yes, come on, find the value of x3. So someone is asking me a question. Yes, is asking, does the final relative error depend upon the initial value? Yes, it depends upon the initial value, but like I said, you can only start finding the error second iteration onwards. Since this method is very quick in the second iteration, the answer that you're going to get is very close to your actual answer. So the error is going to keep on reducing at a very high rate. So the value here is, if I put it, the value that I get for x3 is 5.3166. Alright, so the value that I get is 5.3166. I can find the relative error. Relative error, can you calculate the relative error here? Can you calculate the relative error? Yes, so that is 0.0019%. The relative error is very low here, so you can stop here and say that the value of this, the root of this function is 5.3166, or 5.3166 is your final answer or root of this equation. So that is nothing but Newton-Raphson method. Alright, so if you have any questions here, do you have any questions on unit 1? You can ask me now in the chat box. I'm looking. Divyanshu Mishra is saying that in the given question we have to perform iteration up to 4 decimals. Is it necessary to obtain relative error? So in the question they will say, if they ask you in the question, do this certain problem until the relative error is less than something, or only in that case you can need to find a relative approximate error. In this question it was not specifically said to find the relative error, so there's no need to find the relative error. In this question it was said that do it until 4 digits after decimal. All right, so the stopping criteria are very important, and for that I had given the rule in the class. I'll repeat the rule again. If they have asked in the question until the relative error is less than 3%, in that case you have to do or keep on doing it until your relative error is less than that. So in that case you'll have to find relative error. If that is not given, then the second thing is you will do it until there are 4 decimals after 4 digits after decimal are almost equal in two successive iteration. That is when you can stop. If that is also not possible, then depends upon the marks. If a question comes for 7 marks, I expect at least 7 iterations. If the question is coming for 10 marks, I expect at least 10 iterations. Alright, so someone else is asking another question. Uh, just a minute, let me answer one by one. There are a lot of questions here. In the previous two methods, Aman Raj is asking, in the previous two methods, is it necessary to take initial value as 0 and 1? Alright, so in the previous two methods, we have started by 0 and 1 because they had opposite signs. So it's not necessary that you can have to take 0 and 1. You can start at any values, but they should have opposite signs. You have to take two values so that it is so that they have opposite functional values, not necessarily 0 and 1. Another question is, if we go to iteration 4 in this problem, the error comes out to be 24.04, so it is increasing. Why is it happening? Okay, another one also has the same question. Okay, the question, this is happening because we are trying to find relative percentage error. Okay, so this relation is with the previous approximation and not the absolute error. So absolute error is something different and relative error is something different. Okay, so relative error in some problems you'll always see that it may not always be decreasing. So in the problems that we have solved it's continuously decreasing. There will be problems where it is not decreasing continuously, it may keep on fluctuating, increasing and decreasing. All right, so in that case that is because this is a relative approximate error and not absolute error. All right, yes, any questions, any more questions? Ankit Chavan is asking, so give examples for initial value other than 0 and 1. Okay, so all right, I'll post that in the edit or in the next section. I'll give you questions which have values, which have different initial values other than 0 and 1. Yes, any more questions? Okay, if not, we'll stop the session here. Before stopping, I want attendance. So write down the roll number in your chat box. Just say Arnavats is asking just a minute. Whenever you're writing your roll numbers, always say roll number and followed by your roll number, because that will help me to get the roll numbers, because there are a lot of numbers in the chat box of the answers that you have given. So always say roll number. Arnavats is asking what should we study for unit test. Unit test will be on unit 5 and unit 6. Unit test 2 will be on unit 5 and unit 6. So unit 6 we have covered in the lectures. Unit 5 we had covered in the class, but again we will do a revision of unit 5 slowly. Right? Yes, everyone, please give your attendance. Yes, Pratik is asking, can we have revision of unit 5 and 6 first? Yes, I am going to start with unit 5 also. Simultaneously, I am going to start with the other units also. One question that I want to ask is, uh, will it be okay if I take another lecture tomorrow? Okay, so what I'll do is, we'll start with unit 5 revision. That is, I'll take a lecture tomorrow. I'll tell you the time. Should be around 11:12, the same time around this time. In the I'll put a message in the WhatsApp group, and in the WhatsApp group I'll put a message, and based on that we'll start.